So you started the stream on YouTube.
Yes. But we can still wait till everyone's here if you want. Yes.
Here comes Nathan.
When I was searching for something on my laptop, was that showing up on your screen?
No?
No, good. Okay.
Hi, Nathan.
There's Nathan. Hi, Nathan. Hi, everybody. Oh, that glare again. I need hair. Oh, that's worse.
Let's see them introduce the people.
Trouble joining this meeting.
I thought I'd call you, but I got sidetracked and doing nothing. Yeah. No, I was just taking a nap. You woke me up. I was watching the news. Oh.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Ann.
Hello, Ann.
You know, I'd rather forego it and let the kids get them so that they get back to work. You know, let the young get them. Well, I almost turned into, you know, I want the kids.
Somebody's audio is on.
Yeah, really.
Somebody has TV or something on in the background.
Oh, do you know when they're going to, so like the people that are going to give out the
Or you
text
get
and
bored,
stuff?
you know?
No, we're not doing that.
Mhm. You'll know that, huh?
Christ's sake.
Okay, I think I have pretty much everyone but you, and you muted, Walt.
Okay. Well, I guess that's as it should be. My watch says it's 7:01, and I guess it's time to get started. If a few more people come in, you're welcome. It's welcome them in as they come. Anyway, welcome to our December Residents Council meeting. We have Nathan Blumberg with us tonight. We have another guest, Don Burkhardt, who I'll be talking about in a little bit. And welcome to any others. We're also streaming this on YouTube, and some people may be seeing this on a 20-second delay on YouTube. And of course, it'll be on 972 too. So lots of people will see this before we're through. But we've got a good group here together tonight. As usual, we'll start off with a moment of silence for those we've lost during the past month. And I'll ask Hope to scroll their names on the screen while we observe a minute of silence.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. And our first order of business, as usual, is the approval of the minutes from the last month's meeting. They've been distributed to all the members, and you've all had a chance to look at it. I don't expect a lot of discussion on this, so unless you have any immediate objections, we're going to say that we've approved the meeting minutes. Last chance to object. Otherwise, Nathan, I don't think you're objecting. No. So, all right, the minutes are approved. Our next order of business, as usual, is the mission moments for the month. And our first mission moment is for Don Burgard, who's a guest with us tonight. Jen Isaacs suggested that we honor him for this evening, and because she knows firsthand what value there is in sharing one's gifts. She wrote, hello? Did I hear something?
No.
Oh, okay. Jen Isaacs wrote, "My hero, long ago in a faraway land called Herbert's Run, a hero across from the place called Ping Pong, a recent convert to Charlestown lifestyle, a semi-retired pastor, joined the group to beat us all in good sport and ping pong. As I was leaving for the night, I had a gulp of water listening to the banter and expected to laugh at a good joke. I must have tried to do both at the same time, and I ended in a choke. I could not speak or breathe or swallow. While Dominique called 911, I proceeded to turn blue and could not even gasp. Pastor Don Burkhardt came with a Heimlich maneuver and brought up a few drops of water and revived me. Henceforth, I refer to him as a lifesaver, or Herr Heimlich." And Don is with us tonight. Would you wave hello for us, Don, and we'll applaud you for your efforts. Thank you, Don. The second recognition for the night is the efforts of a number of volunteers who wanted to be assured that their votes would be counted in the recent election. Volunteers rallied to their aid, which amounted to an 8-day mission moment. Since Charlestown could not have its usual precinct in the conference center, the Baltimore County Board of Elections and Charlestown Administration approved a plan to safely and securely transfer residents' mail-in ballots to nearby drop boxes. League of Women Voters nonpartisan ballot collection signs were posted in the Cross Creek and Charlestown Square lobbies from October 26th through November 2nd. Those signs covered the efforts of many people to help Charlestown residents vote. The League of Women Voters volunteers were paired with nonpartisan observers at tables in those lobbies for 1 hour each morning and afternoon. And at the end of each hour, volunteer drivers came to take the League of Women Voters volunteers and a total of 92 collected ballots to a drop box. The Legislative and Political Committee secured the drivers. Staff also assisted in this successful effort. Community resources, housekeeping, the 972 staff, and lobby desk personnel all participated. There were many appreciative moments from residents, both those who brought their ballots and others who handled their ballots by mail or at voting centers and drop boxes themselves. Charlestown residents found voting to be easy and convenient. And so we thank all of you who contributed to making voting possible and easy for Charlestown. Too many people to read all your names here, but thank you, all of you. It's another good sign of the spirit of Charlestown and the way we live. And I'll mention, if you have mission moment suggestions to pass along, please send to Pat Kasuda, who's the chair of the Mission Moments group. And that brings me to announcements. And while I'm mentioning Pat Kasuda, we're very pleased to congratulate Pat on her recent appointment to the Charlestown Board of Directors as a resident director. We also thank outgoing resident director Charles Denton for his years of service on the Charlestown Board of Directors. So congratulations. Thank you, Charles, and thank you, Pat. And we're looking forward to your representation on the board and your activity on the board in times to come. Well, it's December already, and we're nearing the end of a very strange year. Thanksgiving's behind us now, and we're looking forward to Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa, however we celebrate things. Along the way, we've learned to meet and socialize and make merry over Zoom. Well, just 2 committees are meeting in the month of December. We'll be doing less traveling to meet with family and friends for the holidays this year, but it's still a busy time. And communicating with family and friends is more important than ever this year. It's the season to be jolly with social distancing. Well, looking ahead, January's council meeting would be, since we're having so few meetings, would be very brief and very dull if most committees just say, our committee did not meet in December. So we're asking you if you're willing to suggest that next month you report not on the fact that you didn't hold a meeting, or of course, if you did hold a meeting, you'll report on it, but give us a summary of what you've achieved and learned this year in running the committees for the first half of the year. What have you achieved? What problems have you overcome? And what do you sort of perceive your committee doing during the next 6 months? Maybe it'll give the community a look at a little better look at your committee, and we want to encourage more residents to get involved too. And this will give a little bit of visibility to your committee. We can show residents there's work to be done, that we're still active, give them a little better perspective on what we're all about during this strange time. Well, that wraps up my remarks. I'll just say happy holidays to everyone. And now's the time when we call on other officers for their comments or reports. And we're not all reporting tonight, but I'm going to mention everyone anyway. So, wish you a happy holiday. Pat Rudolph, our Vice President, I want to thank you for all the work you've done. I don't think you have any comments tonight. Speak up if I'm wrong. But thank you for all your efforts, much of it behind the scenes. Next, our Secretary, Hope Tillman, who I don't expect to give a report either, but oh, does she work behind the scenes a lot. It's a busy, busy job. So thank you, Hope. Treasurer Ron Driabru may have a few words for us. Can we hear from you, Ron? If you unmute yourself. There we go.
Ready? Okay. Well, the council's account balance at the end of October was $5,891.01. In November, the council received $226 in Residents Association dues. Expenditures for the month totaled $636.51. Yeah, again, $636.51. Thus, the council's account balance at the end of November was $5,480.50.
Thank you, Ron. Appreciate the report and appreciate all the work you're doing. We have one more officer on the committee, and that's Mimi O'Donnell, who is both Assistant Secretary and Assistant Treasurer. And we're not asking her to speak, but she does a lot of behind the scenes work too. And I want to thank everybody who's in that role this month. So thank you all in the Executive Committee for the board. Now that brings us to the reports from the various committees. Our first committee is Benevolent Care, which is chaired by Jean Eichenloeb and Eugenia High. And Jean will be giving a report this month. It's all yours, Jean.
We did not meet in November, and our next meeting will be January 27th, 2021, 2 o'clock, probably by Zoom, but that remains to be seen.
Okay, thank you, Jean. Our next committee is Communications, chaired by Dick Krebs and David Elder. And Dick Krebs will be giving a report this month. Dick, it's yours.
A virtual communications committee meeting was held on November 23rd, 2020. 23 members attending. Staff was represented by Mary Evans from Community Resources and Jeff Hofstetter, VP of Enterprise Applications at Erickson Living. October minutes were approved by acclamation. Jeff Hofstetter was introduced and invited to give an overview of the current configuration and resident data flow here at Charlestown. He outlined many of the data applications in use here and introduced us to the MyUnity integration employed by Erickson to integrate the data here. Wayne Smith volunteered to head a resident data task force to investigate. David, Hope, and Art volunteered to work with Wayne on the task force. Wi-Fi issues were discussed with the Charlestown Board of Directors as approved a budget item for the residents' Wi-Fi system replacement, scheduled for the first quarter of 2021. Current guidance to residents experiencing Wi-Fi issues is to contact IT. They will advise residents, but will not install individual access points at this time. The proposed Wi-Fi upgrade will likely include individual access points in each apartment. Charlie Eichenlaub submitted the Evergreens topics and they were reviewed. The website committee addressed change the website to bring it up to date, especially under resident resources and continuing care. There's a new Erickson flyer, new room scheduling guidelines for the clubs page, and a list of groups currently meeting with understanding these are not walk meetings. The monthly calendar is not being published right now, and there are no special events, day trips, or overnight tours. The procedure to put a notice on Channel 972 is to send it to Community Resource Barry Evans' office, and they will take care of it for every communications venue, including bulletin boards, 972, My Erickson, and the Sunburst. They prefer portrait orientation for bulletin boards and landscape orientation for Channel 972, My Erickson. The website committee brainstormed topics to add that would be of interest to residents. The campus television update was discussed with current emphasis being placed on the scheduled resident Wi-Fi updates. New topics for January will include coordination with residents to encourage residents to participate in electronic communications such as Zoom, cooperation in the area providing additional resident training will be explored. The next communications committee meeting will be held on January 25th at 2 p.m. following the DC website subcommittee, which meets at 1 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Our next committee alphabetically is Conservation with Anne-Marie Cheraki, who will give the report. And you're still muted. Anne-Marie, you're muted. Anne-Marie? Okay, there we go.
I tried to unmute, but holding the bar down didn't work. Due to the backlog created by the COVID-19 virus, the recycling statistics were not available. Housekeeping hopes to provide them next month. The committee hopes to have poster boards on display soon to show the items that can be recycled and those that cannot. The following tips from the Sierra Club were discussed. Tips for a greener home. Turn computer and monitor off at the end of the day to save electricity. Read news online. Buy a new houseplant that make the best natural air purifiers. Run clothes washer and dishwasher with full loads at night. Keep freezer full. It runs more efficiently than an empty one. Stop using toxin-loaded dryer sheets. A safer alternative is wool dryer balls or cotton balls. And our next meeting will be in January 19th. Respectfully submitted, Anne-Marie Cheraki. It will be by Zoom.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. Next committee is Dining Services with Bob Caulfield and Ron McNabb, with Bob, I think, giving us the report. All yours, Bob. Need unmute.
Thank you, Walter. Can everybody hear me? The monthly meeting was held on November the 16th at 2 p.m. in the auditorium. Ken Zahn, Director of Dining Services, was in attendance. Ken discussed plans for Thanksgiving dinner. Dining, delivery, and carryout were planned for 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Restaurants are operating at 50% capacity. Dining is restricted to residents only. Bob Caulfield gave a summary of dining services efforts over the past 8 months. Beginning in March, their world rapidly changed on short notice. they had to produce and deliver 2,000 cold meals a day. As processors improved, they were able to open up limited seating, seated dining, and carryout. The effort was difficult and often resulted in errors, complaints, and long phone waits. However, as staff got used to the new process, performance has improved and will continue to improve. The COVID-19 epidemic is affecting staffing. There are currently 30 dining staff out because of COVID-19. The Atrium restaurant is temporarily closed, effective Wednesday, November the 18th. Staff from the Atrium are being used to fill vacancies in other restaurants. Residents were asked to volunteer to take phone orders and reservations to help fill staffing shortages. Ken asked that residents continue to be patient. He is aware that there are minor but important problems occurring with resident orders. They are doing their best, but these are unusual times. Situations may require attending to essential services at the cost of important services. Ken reported that restaurants are busier earlier in the week. Residents are encouraged to book later in the week to balance demand. The November Dining Services Town Hall meeting on TV 972 took place on Friday, the 20th of November, rather than the day after Thanksgiving. The next Dining Services Committee meeting will be held on January the 18th, and it is currently planned to be a hybrid live and Zoom meeting. As an additional footnote to our committee meeting minutes, we strongly recommend that residents check when they're picking up carryout food, their bags for accuracy and a lessening of complaints. Thank you. That's all we have.
Thank you, Bob. I've noticed the volunteers taking phone calls lately. That's a nice move.
Very helpful.
Well, our next committee is Finance Committee with Gordon Pichet. Gordon, you're up.
Okay. The Finance Committee met on November 24th with Finance Director Pam Steiner, Assistant Finance Director Eric Schwab, Executive Director Clara Parker, and 11 committee members. The occupancy data and final financial package reports for October were presented by Eric Schwab. Independent living, 94.8%. Assisted living, 99.2%. Memory care, 100%. Skilled nursing, 75.3%. Independent occupancy decreased by 0.8% in October. The occupancy levels in skilled nursing continue to be affected by the need to maintain the COVID unit and the discontinuation of double occupancy rooms. Settlements of new residents continue to pick up in November in independent living. October operating revenue of $6,987,000 was $586,000 below budget due to continued lower occupancy and fewer revenue generating ancillary services being offered because of the COVID. Operating expenses were $206,000 above budget, resulting in an operating income of $71,000, which is $792,000 below budget. Non-operating income for October was $1,271,000 below budget, largely due to investment performance. There were significant changes in cash flows, which increased from a negative $141,000 to a positive $1,626,000. The balance sheet continues to be good. Ms. Steiner continues working closely with the Board of Directors Investment Committee during the pandemic. Regarding restricted funds, 15 residents received benevolent care assistance. The Scholars Fund current balance is over $1.2 million, and the Staff Appreciation Fund increased by $112,336 this month to a total of $124,197 for the year. The committee will have a brief meeting on December 29th at 9 a.m. via Zoom.
Thanks, Gordon.
That's it.
Let's see, next up is grounds. I don't think I see Michael Rose here.
No.
Hope, are you prepared to read
Yes.
the grounds report? Thanks.
Yeah. The grounds committee met via Zoom on Tuesday, November 24th, with 11 residents, Ryan Truitt and Karel Apostolov representing staff. Ryan stated the entrance to St. Charles would be replanted with plants similar to those in the original design, such as, I don't know the pronunciation, Liriope and Heuchera. Kirill is still researching the issue of mold at Building 1. There are some dead trees along the nature trail that will be removed. A decision on the nature trail bridge will be made at the corporate level. The vines mentioned previously could not be located and may be in the restricted area. Mike will contact the residents of Edgewood 202 and 212 to see if they're satisfied with the work the grounds did for them. It was decided that a subcommittee would be formed to replace the tree group and to survey the campus and make suggestions to improve it. The St. Charles loading dock will be sealed in the spring. Additional matting will be placed outside of Brookside to encourage the growth of new grass. The grounds department was notified that the drain at Brookside frequently overflows and causes flooding. Jennifer Dempsey commented on the wonderful job of leaf removal by Brightwood. Grounds has contacted the aerator installation company about the aerator clogging issue. Kirill announced that the outside water would soon be turned off for the winter. There will be no December meeting. The next meeting by Zoom will be on January 26th at 10 a.m.
Thanks. So next committee up is Health Committee with Mercy Escritter-Whitaker. Mercy, it's yours.
Our committee met via Zoom on November 10th at 11 o'clock with 6 guests attending. The Medical Center Administrator, Dean Crawford, reported over 20,000 residents across all Erickson living communities received their seasonal flu vaccine. Work on leasing space to a new ophthalmologist and leasing session to a new pain specialist is ongoing. Since COVID-19 cases are on the rise in Maryland, independent living residents are encouraged to be more vigilant in preventing its spread in the community. The Charlestown Fall Prevention Working Group's efforts resulted in recorded videos by Charlestown staff and aired on TV channel 972. These are the Balance and Fitness Center programs by Teresa Ryman and the Ambulation Safety and Apartment Safety by the Rehab Center. The November Sunburst included the article titled Fall Prevention Key to Independence. Pat Kasuda continues working with senators to determine what will be happening with this year's legislature regarding the Maryland State Ombudsman Program and memory care standards. Dr. Mickey Palzar reported that flu activity remains very low nationwide, with a mild increase in those seeking attention for flu-like illnesses. The medication collection event on November the 9th resulted in filling over 2 very large bins. New resident services coordinators, Robin Campbell and Andrea Lanassa, are available at their offices by the Terrace and at the St. Charles, respectively. Please encourage those residents experiencing problems to contact the resident coordinators for help. Resident Services has resources available to support residents challenged by hearing and low vision. Alcoholic Anonymous meetings held at the Jenkins Room in the Pastoral Care Office and the Kidney Support Group have resumed their programs. Zoom links for all Health Committee meetings are posted on My Erickson under Resident Resources. There will be no meeting in December. Our next meeting is scheduled for January the 12th at 11 o'clock, tentatively via Zoom. Thanks.
Thanks, Mercy. I noticed there's another falls prevention article in the December issue of Sunburst too. Jean, did you have something you wanted to add?
I just wanted to say that the name of it is the Jeremiah Room. Not the Jenkins room.
That's what I was told. Sorry, I will correct it. Thanks.
All right, next up is Betty Elder with the Housekeeping Committee.
Hello, everybody. Let's see. The Housekeeping Committee met on November 18th, 2020 via Zoom with 13 people in attendance. The Housekeeping Committee welcomed Ms. Michelle Fenn, Charlestown Housekeeping Manager. Due to safety concerns, residents are discouraged from using the dumpsters. There are trash cans outside of the buildings. Unfortunately, some residents are placing large trash bags next to the cans on the weekends or late at night, making the entranceways a mess or eyesores, and they're also encouraging rodents. No additional trash cans will be placed outside of the buildings to collect residential waste between trash collection dates. The cleaning of hallways and walls is on a schedule. However, the housekeeping department is short-staffed. Many workers are staying hours beyond their regular times in order to complete cleaning assignments. In addition, the cleaning of windows and in common areas such as the corridors, lobbies, walkways, and bridges will take place starting in early spring of 2021, provided the staff is not needed to sanitize for COVID-19 again as intensely. The ongoing issue about trash or recycling placed in hallways earlier than they should by days or by hours is still a major concern on some floors in some buildings. Please let Mr. Kirill Apostolov, and his email address is kirill.apostolov@erickson.com, know if this is an issue. A letter will be sent to those in violation. Maintenance and engineering items were shared with the Maintenance and Engineering Committee Chairperson, Mr. Apostolov and Mr. Shaw. The housekeeping concerns such as vacuuming or cleaning of hallways, cleaning of stairwells and dusting, or cleaning of common areas have been shared with Ms. Fenn. If any resident notices items which need immediate or emergency cleaning, they should report it themselves and use the My Erickson portal at cciworkorders@erickson.com. Ms. Fenn mentioned that there are many contractors working to renovate apartments. It is their job to clean up after themselves. Kudos to the hard work of the Charlestown housekeeping staff. They are still sanitizing high-touch areas and doing all of their daily cleaning and restocking of the restrooms, etc. Members of the housekeeping committee were asked to share something about themselves for the February Sunburst article. Ms. Fenn shared the names and locations of the housekeeping utility worker building staff. Our next meeting is on Friday, January 15th, 2021 at 2 p.m. via Zoom. This is our regular meeting time. Thank you.
Thank you, Betty. Next up is Legislative and Political Committee with Pat Payne, a very busy committee lately.
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet. Take a look at the help section in your Alexa app.
Hello, oh, okay.
I don't think that was me. Hello, everybody. The Legislative Political Committee met on Wednesday, November the 11th on Zoom. There were 21 people present. We were fortunate to have Warren Deschanel, former Director of Fiscal Services for the Maryland Legislature, with us. And he gave a presentation on Maryland's budgeting process and the likely impact of the pandemic on state revenues, which will, of course, be key to the next legislative session. We found out that the fiscal impact of COVID is not as severe as first thought, and that's because sales tax took a hit, but the income taxes were not hurt as much as expected because unemployment has been concentrated on lower wage workers. But that was a very important insight. We're seeing a real income distinction between who was affected by this, by the COVID virus impact. Before the pandemic, the state budget grew annually at a rate of about 4.5% and revenues about 3%. We expect that the structural deficit that this creates will likely be made worse by the pandemic. Warren Deschanel also called attention to the fact that the referendum passed on November 3rd. It allows the legislature to increase spending, but requiring it to equally decrease and offset any increases that it makes. Prior to the passage of this, the legislature could only subtract, it could not add to the budget. That doesn't go into effect, however, till fiscal 2024. We gave a report on the League of Women Voters Initiative, which you've already heard about, in which we were able to assist residents getting their ballots, mail-in ballots, to the closest mail-in ballot drop boxes, and fortunate to have 92 ballots that went into those drop boxes between October the 26th and November the 2nd. And we have a meeting scheduled. Our next meeting will be Thursday, December the 10th at 7 p.m. on Zoom. And the meeting will be with the members of Maryland's District 12 legislative delegation, the representatives that serve this area, including State Senator Clarence Lamb, delegates Eric Ebersol, Jessica Fledmark, and Terry Hill. And they will be giving us a briefing and overview of the major issues facing the 2021 legislative session and its implications for Charlestown. And I will point out this is going to be a very unique legislative session because of the requirements for safe distancing, and everything will be virtual. Attendance at all hearings will be by Zoom. There will be significant restrictions on who can be present, and no journalists or lobbyists is allowed in the State House. So it's going to be a whole new ball game. That meeting again, December 10th, 2020, 7 p.m. That's my report.
Thank you, Pat. Next up is maintenance and engineering. I don't think I see Jackie Graham here. I hope, are you all set?
Well, Jackie Graham's committee, the Maintenance and Engineering Committee, did not meet during November, and their next meeting will be January 26th, that too.
Okay, thank you. And next we come to Resident Life, chaired by Ron Fair, and our newest member, Carolyn Thompson. Ron will be reporting. Ron?
Resident Life Committee met November 18th by Zoom. Issues regarding widespread use of computers in our society and the impact on residents at Charlestown were discussed with the objective of how best to help the residents who need a simple item fixed and those who simply lack computer literacy and thereby miss out on everyday events at Charlestown. Mary Evans' office receives up to 5 telephone calls daily for computer help, often triggered by the need to use My Ericsson, but other calls are wide-ranging, and Olivia Lippy explained that she often is unable to help with troubleshooting on the phone when, for example, the resident doesn't understand simple computer operations. We have 789 residents over 85 years of age in independent living in Charlestown, and 1,503 over 75 years of age. Many residents lack basic computer skills and miss out on important announcements, can't find friends and relatives, and miss local activities, potentially leading to isolation and emotional or mental health consequences. So we had a vigorous discussion and talked about many things. One was barriers to computer use. And there was a whole list of items, wide-ranging. Some residents have no computer, never used a computer, had no experience, or had never been taught. Some were afraid of messing up, so they don't even try. Others forget how to proceed even after being taught. Others have repeated forgetfulness. Some are simply not interested, and others can't get their computer to work and don't know who to ask for help. Others always had someone to do it for them. So many people do help other residents with computer-related problems, but there's no overall organization as such, except for the IT department, which is expensive for some. We talked about historic support by volunteers. In the past, there was reliance on a small group of volunteers such as Howie Nixon and Associates, who for 5 years made over 2,500 house calls. But this ended in burnout and no clearly identified individual or group to continue after them. There was a discussion about historic attempts to teach computer literacy at Charlestown. Art Chenoweth cited 3 examples of past classes sponsored by ELEC that were not only difficult to teach, but eventually failed for lack of follow-through on the part of residents. Ann McKay expressed similar experience with Apple users, echoing comments by Ray Graves from the computer lab, who was interviewed before our meeting. Pat Gasuda suggested that the scope of need was far too great for a local undertaking, and that the focus might best be narrowed to a single important topic, such as My Erickson. This was done at another Erickson facility for newly arriving residents. As demographics change with time, more newcomers will arrive with basic computer skills, but that's not the situation at present. In summary, here are some of the suggested remedies. Provide some specific ELEC classes like My Erickson. Help residents receive guidance by joining a computer club. Provide one-on-one help at home from volunteers or a third-party contractor. Provide names of volunteers to call for basic short-term help. Prepare written handouts of how-to guides. Develop instructional videos to play on channel 972. Attend Zoom meetings by telephone with information posted in Sunburst or on 972 and bulletin boards. Our action item for the next meeting was to build focus teams to address computer issues. After we sent out our minutes, we received a call from Dick Krebs, who asked us if we would distribute, if he could distribute copies of our minutes to the Communications Committee. And there was good feedback on that. And where we stand now is that Carolyn Thompson, David Elder, Dick Krebs, and I are proposing a joint meeting in January because our issues overlap some. And as that develops, we'll keep everybody informed who will host the meeting and when it will be. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ron. That, you're taking on some real challenges here, and if we can make progress, it'll be very valuable for residents. It's really worth the effort, I think. Let's see, our last committee to the report today is Safety and Security, and I don't think Ed Wallace has made it back in time, so I'll call on Hope again.
Okay. A subcommittee on fall prevention has been created between the Safety and Security and the Health Committees. Bill Miller and Ed Wallace will be representing Safety and Security Committee. Ed Wallace has had an article published in the Sunburst on cybersecurity for seniors and has submitted a second article for the December issue of Sunburst. Problems with leaving EMVs in hallways, storage areas, and near exit doors were discussed. Any instance of this are against the Charlestown rules and constitute a fire hazard. Anyone that observes this should call security. The next meeting of the Safety and Security Committee will be held on Tuesday. Let's see, I don't have the January date here. I'm sorry. He has December, and I know he decided not to have one in December. So it will be held the first, I think it's around the 8th or 9th of January.
It's the 12th.
On Tuesday. 12th, the 12th. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you, Hope, for Ed. And that wraps up our committee reports for the evening. We don't have any planned old business to go over, we have no new business on the docket unless somebody raises their hand suddenly. Yes, Anna Marie?
I have a question for Gordon. I thought that we had raised more money for the Staff Appreciation Fund than 100 and whatever thousand you said. I thought it was over 200,000. Isn't it?
I'm looking back just a second. The numbers I gave you are the numbers that were given to me by the finance staff.
Maybe, what day did you have your meeting?
I get the numbers usually around the 20th of the month from them. And then our meeting is the last Tuesday of the month. So the numbers come basically about the middle or shortly after the middle of the month.
Okay, because I'm pretty sure that it was more. And Nathan's shaking his head, so maybe Nathan can clarify.
Maybe Nathan can clarify a bit for us when we call on him, and we're about to call on him. It's time for a word from management. Nathan, can you address your question while you're at it?
It would be my pleasure. Walt has unmuted me. So hello, everybody. How are you this evening? It's nice to see you, if not virtually. This is the best way we could do things today. So thanks for having us. I'll start off with, we talk weekly or now twice weekly about COVID. Obviously, COVID continues to be a focus for everybody right now. I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving. As best as possible right now, considering our circumstances. Mine was quiet. I'm sure yours were equally quiet, home with the kids, Amanda and Oreo. But, we started some new traditions. We'll talk through a couple of things today. COVID remains, I reflect back to March 6th when I started as the COVID-19 incident commander for Charlestown. Many of you compared me to Mike Pence at the resident council meeting back then in March. Just if you remember those moments, I can't believe 10 months later, we're sort of still in it. We've learned a lot, we're doing a lot together, but the community remains laser focused. I see every contact trace that goes out, and I'm part of every single process there. And I can confidently say that, our employees are committed to this every single day. And our residents are as well. For the most part, we are making sure we're doing all the right things. A couple of excellent things. So to the Staff Appreciation Fund, I'm thrilled to say that residents raised around $290,000 into the Staff Appreciation Fund. Absolutely tremendous. What I think is even more tremendous than the dollar, which is awesome, is that 72% of our residents participated, which is just, yeah, I'm with Anna Marie. Wow. I mean, it's just, thank you. Just from the bottom of our hearts, thank you. That is going to every single staff of ours, every line staff, every housekeeper and maintenance person and security officer who's been working tirelessly, and our caregivers day in and day out through what just continues to be quite the year. So just thank you so much. Checks will be going out direct deposit on December 8th. I know we all love giving out the checks every year. I can't apologize more for that. We can't physically give it, but for all the right reasons, we physically can't be handing pieces of paper to so many residents back and forth. It's just not the time this year. Hopefully next year we'll be back to that wonderful moment of handing out the check. But we'll make sure there's some wonderful thank yous and ways to say thank you and appreciate $290,000. We talked a little bit about Thanksgiving. I hope, again, you had a lovely Thanksgiving. We saw 97% more residents took advantage of Thanksgiving meals this year than in any year past, which just is tremendous when you think about how many meals went out. And I think somebody said it earlier, we are in a pandemic mode still. We have not stopped since March 6th. And while we're all trying to get life back to some level of normalcy, we are absolutely operating in that pandemic mode right now. And to be able to deliver a meal that way to our residents in that amount of time, just a tremendous shout out to the dining team. I know we're not perfect, but darn it, we are going to try to be as the best we absolutely can each and every day for our residents. And I know Thanksgiving proved to be a really good day for folks. We continue to remind you to wear your mask. Wear your mask, right? Socially distance, keep doing all those right things. I love when I see residents ask other residents to do the right thing. Thank you. I do it every day. So you adding to that level of awareness absolutely helps. There's going to be some cheer coming around soon. I don't know if you've noticed, but the GS team has been like little secret elves putting lights up in every nook and cranny of our community. They've really elevated this year's lights. They know we all can't get out as much as we want to, so they're bringing Christmas to us. There's going to be lots of lights out soon when we turn it on. It's going to look really nice. The wreaths are up and the trees are going up in lobbies. We're a little behind on the timing. Had a few folks out on quarantine, so when they get back, we'll be able to get it rolling. But get ready. It's going to be pretty spectacular, and I think we're also going to have the toy soldiers roaming the community like last year. People really like that they like secretly moved overnight to different locations. We'll try to do that again. You know, I would be remiss if I didn't remind you all, it's getting cold out. Be careful, please. This is the time of year when it's, even though 65 degrees, it doesn't feel like it. It's gonna get cold. I'm told it's gonna get cold. So walk carefully, be careful. You know, there's icy patches throughout, you know, in those early mornings. So we just ask to have that extra vigilance. You know, we'd be walking around talking about the walk like a penguin, things like that, but we can't do that this year. So just, I will ask you to please share with your fellow residents, just be careful. This is our last Residents Council meeting of the year, is it not?
Yes.
On behalf of me, the administration, and all 1,250 employees of Charlestown, I wish you all a wonderful, happy new year. May 21 bring us a very different outlook than what we've dealt with in 2020. But boy, are we a resilient community, and I have no doubt we will weather this, and we will welcome 21 with some new level of gratitude. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Nathan. And thank you to all the staff for all you do. And that wraps up our meeting for the evening. Does anybody have any last issues you'd like to raise? Bob Caulfield? I think you're muted, Bob.
Okay, thank you. Am I talking? This question is for Nathan. Nathan, when we moved in here 3.5 years ago, we were told there were 1,243 staff at Charlestown. I'm sure with the COVID, the financial considerations, and everything else that's going on, a freeze on new hires, that number of people have been dramatically reduced. Is that in fact the case? Can you comment?
Yeah, that's a great question. You always hold me to the numbers, Bob. 1250 has always been that number I use. That's kind of that average that we see for Charlestown. We do fluctuate. I'm not necessarily sure we've lost a tremendous folks because of COVID. You know, we certainly go through the quarantines, but that's our target number, or at least that general area that we stick to. I don't know our current number today, but I know that it's not necessarily far off from where we try to target.
I might mention we're inviting Clara to come to our work session next week. And
Fantastic.
Give Pastor in advance some questions like that to take a look at with us. I guess that wraps up our meeting. If nobody else has anything to throw in, well, meeting adjourned.